see your hands on me. Right about there. So hey guys, Carmel wanted to know if I would show you guys some French with acrylic, and so it's a little bit more of the advanced techniques, but you know it's fun to do. So my model Emmy here today, and then my daughter's hanging out in the room, which you guys all know, Caitlin, and then their friend Cooper's here. So cotton ball with 100%, oh, yeah, there are no. 100% acetone to remove her color, and then as well, you know, I go up to the knuckle because I want to dehydrate that all the way around so that I don't get any oil on my file or even on my fingers. So I'm going to show you guys how to do it on a tip, how to sculpt it, how to sculpt it in reverse, and then how I do it, where I do it in gel polish. And the reason why I do it in gel polish on the very top is I love the way it looks with the acrylic, but when they come back in a few weeks later and you have to rebalance the white, that takes so much time and it's constantly extra filing on the nail. And so I prefer to do it in gel polish up on the top. Then I can make it as extreme as I want. It's easier to do, and then when they come back in, I can just e-file it off very easily and then redo their French. You guys can talk.
They're grilling salmon. They're grilling salmon and chicken.
Salmon's too fishy tasting, I think.
Tell them to bring the barbecue over here.
Okay. And you can tell, see how clammy Emmy's hands are. So I don't know if she's nervous or if this is normal.
I'm just sweating. I'm really hot.
But that's something that you got to realize. If your client is clammy, then they're going to produce the extra moisture, and you're just always going to have to make sure that you have it perfectly dehydrated. So as we go along, I'll touch base on that a little bit more. All right, so I'm going to use the Maxis Strata cuticle bit, which you guys have seen that I've posted that before. So I'm going to use the cuticle bit, and being that it's her natural nail, I'm just going to use the 100 by 180 file. These are the 4 Pro. I prefer the zebra ones, but my order came in and they were the white. I can say they're a lot smoother than what my zebra is, even though they still say 100 by 180. As always, you're going to clean up that cuticle area. You're going to start up on one side, small circular motion, and go all the way up and around and over to the other. And then I always go over it 2 times. So with Max's cuticle bit, you can actually prep the entire nail using this. I've noticed that I can't just go side to side on it. I have to go side to side and then back and forth again and then over it again. So to be honest with you, I'd rather use my hand file. So your parents went hiking? Is that what you said?
Yep.
I thought it was pretty cool about that whole trail cave thing that you guys did last weekend or the weekend before.
Yeah, that was so fun.
It makes me want to go.
Yeah. I'd like to go again to the cave.
We have time melting out for 1 minute.
Yeah, really. Find a waterfall.
I'm telling you, I know.
How big is the waterfall?
Sure. So those, I'm going to prep those for now because those are the ones I'm going to go live with and show you. So for sake of time.
What high school?
And then anytime you're filing, get yourself a pattern. I'm going to move this over a little bit.
You did it? So that it was a lot smaller one time.
Yeah.
Okay.
A guy got stuck in there.
I wouldn't do it again.
I'd be fine. I like that.
No, I think that will be better. So get yourself a pattern. So go up the center and go in one direction because you're going to go with the grain of the nail. So I'm kind of at an angle this way. I'm going to go around this way and then this way. So up the center, down one side, one direction. Don't bring your file back up or you're going to hit the skin first and then you're going to skip over the nail. It's going to create some more roughage on the skin. And always remember to etch your free edge as well, so you don't have to take all the length off depending what you're doing, but etch it as well so that it gets a smooth finish. Up the center and down one side. So if I was sculpting all of her nails, you'd have a choice to either remove all the free edges and sculpt out new, or if all of her nails would come out on the sides, like this one is not ideal to sculpting because it goes so far down, the form would have a hard time fitting up underneath there. You can definitely make them work. So in a case like that, my easy go-to is I would tend to do a tip on this one, a sculpt on this one, you know, and you kind of want them to be the same. However, Miss Emmy today is not getting the same. She's going to have a tip on one. Actually, we'll do 2 tips and 2 sculpts. You can have a mosh posh.
French?
Oh, really?
We'll do French for the workshop, and then whatever you want to do on them after that, we can change it up.
Oh,
Except for 2 of them. 2 of them will have white on them no matter what.
okay.
So I like to go around, especially on a new set, with the edge of my file, go with the grain of nail, go up and down, just to make sure that all of this is extra little etched, especially because she has a clammy hand. So I know that if I let these set a while, these would be glossy pretty fast. So it's a little bit of extra etching, but without digging into the nail. Take your brush, remove the excess powder.
Oh, did you show her the column you with?
So let's see, for the sake of the class, the best ones to sculpt are usually the ones without any free edge at all. And the reason why is that when you put your form on, you lay it up on the skin right where the free edge would be. And then when you bring down your sides, and this one actually fits perfectly, you can see that the form curves around on both sides. It would bulge out just a little bit here, so the best thing to do with that is take your scissors, go down at an angle and cut the form just a little bit. You can kind of bend this out and you'll see that the edge slides right up under where that free edge would be. But I still have my form where I can form out my acrylic. And what that does is it allows, let's see, that to fit in a little bit better. If this side was on there, you know how it bulges out a little bit, it would create a little bit of a pocket on that side, and that's what we don't want. But I did over pinch my tip a little bit. So I'm going to open this back up. I have to get a new one. I'm going to cut this down just a little bit farther so it's not in my way. Center that back up. That's a much better fit. So way up close, you'll be able to see, we customized this side so it wouldn't bush out, so you can see how it fits perfectly up to the nail. And then this side already did meet in really nicely. I think I might cut it just a little bit there too, just to see if it's gonna make any difference at all in the shaping. Hi, Sean. Thanks for joining us. All right, so Emmy's hand is clammy, and now it's really preventing this from sticking. So remember, no, this is a good thing, because this happens quite a bit sometimes. So what happens is, instead of applying like your forms to all of the nails, you're gonna apply your form to the nail that you're working on, and then do one nail at a time. No, that's not your issue. Okay, so let's do this again. Bring that form up. So I'm not going to clamp it because I do know that I need to cut this one side. And I need to cut it down right here where her free edge starts on that nail. And just because we're going to cut it down on this other side too. Make him a little bit deeper. Customizing a form. Okay, and then again, bring that on. Well, you notice when I brought that on, see how it automatically pulls these sides out? Because that was the gap that I would have had, and it fits up perfect to the nail on that side and the nail on this side. So I'm going to come in really close. That's how you want it to fit your form nice. Then when you roll it in, you're going to have that perfect C curve, so that when you do your nails, you don't get that wideness or the flat. It's nice and curved. Here, I'll turn this down. So you can see it fits the form from sidewall to the sidewall. If for some reason it wasn't fitting right, like this one already does not have any free edge, so that you would file off the free edge. Okay, so this one I'm going to tip, just because ideally if all of her nails were this way, I probably would tip it, because it's so far down deep in there that even if I customized my form, it wouldn't fit right. And so sometimes a tip would be a better option. Okay, so I'm going to do one thing at a time, because I want to do this before this form wants to pop off. You're going to grab your pH bond. And you can tell where our nail's already starting to get glossy. And that's just part of the clamminess. Really move your pH bond in there and make sure that you're pushing those bristles into the cuticle area so it can completely dry out. So as you can tell, I'm getting my chalky white back onto the nail. You're going to add your primer. So I'm using this as Protein Bond. Get my brush primed and ready. So my acrylic brush is in my acrylic monomer. I always clean it off at just a couple times, load it up, wipe it off. Make sure that every bristle is nice and wet. My bristles are staying together. That way I'll know that my ratios will turn out good. So when I sculpt out everything in a really thin layer of clear. Oh, I'm gonna do this around that light. Sorry guys, I'm gonna have to adjust the light again. It's in my way. So prime your brush. Get your bead. And in this, I'm just looking at getting an extension on her. I'm not worried about the thickness or anything yet. I'm going to bring it all the way to the sides. and pat it to where I want my length to be. It's almost like when you're creating your extension, you want to go a little bit shorter than what the nail actually is, because you're going to build it up with white, and that's going to build it out even more. So what you want to do is as thin as you can, and then bring it in just a little bit farther than where you need it to be. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so for a reverse French, I'm going to get my second bead of pink, and you do your cuticle and your free edge, or cuticle on where you want your free edge smile line to be first. So this is self-leveling. You can tell it automatically when the cuticle that side. I'm going to steer it just a little bit on this side. And now that it's filled in that well, I'm going to pat it to where I want it. I like my French line to be out a little bit farther than normal, so it's a little bit of an exaggerated French. And then you're just going to concentrate on your smile line. You have smile lines? What's nice about working with a self-leveling product like this is that you have time to work with it. It's a little bit slower on its set time, so you can really play and work where you want it to be. Okay, so you can see this is my smile line. So my edge is going to start right here, which is about where her free edge starts. But I brought my center point out farther. So I'm going to show you from the side view. It's going to be really wonky. See how high that is? You're going to finish file this, so it's not going to be that high. What you want to make sure, though, is that your cuticle line is good and your beginning of your sidewalls are good. Then you're going to come in with your white.
What did you get text to?
Yeah, it's from you.
I was like, no, where's the nail polish?
Then you're going to come in and just place it onto the free edge and allow it to get all the bubbles out and self-level a little bit. It's fun because you can always watch like the little bubbles. Then you're going to bring in your sides and push that up into the side walls. This will look kind of wonky. It's okay.
Where's the black nail polish?
In your room on the dresser.
She's so smart. She knows where everything is.
Okay, so I got a little distracted. I didn't get my sidewalls on, so I'm going to add just a little bit more white and bring that all the way in.
I like
So-
the smell of it.
You like this now? And it has, this one's Maxis Stratas. It has a really light cotton candy kind of scent, but it's still monomer. Okay, so I brought those way down deep into the sides. So as you notice, remember I made my first clear a little bit more tapered. So when I bring in my white, I went out a little bit farther to where it would be. And then when I finish file, you're going to notice it just brings all that in perfectly. So it's okay about all of this because you're going to file all of that. And then down the barrel, you're going to see it's a little bit thicker. But we're going to finish file this, so that's going to thin that out. So there's the reverse method, which Young Nails has many, many, many tutorials of how to do that. It's one of them that they kind of created. Another way of doing a French manicure is on a tip. So this is Tammy Taylor's method and Tammy Taylor tips. So when you're fitting a tip, I know we've covered this in videos before, so obviously you can look at that one and you can tell it's too little. If I force this on, I could get it to fit from side to side. However, see how white that turns her nail bed? That's a lot of pressure. And in about an hour, she's going to be very sore. And that's why sometimes full sets can make people hurt. So you go maybe that little bit bigger. I can put this on. I still fit side to side. And I notice it's not turning her nail bed white. And that one's going to be more comfortable, but I always double check and go one size larger. And that one I could definitely fit on, but now I'm going to have to start altering my sides in. You can tell it's just a little bit too big. So this one's the winner. Anytime I do a tip, I go ahead and remove all of the freehedge. That way when they grow out, they all look the same from the back side. And shape your freehedge to fit the well of the tip. So this is the well, and you can tell that in that well there's a little bit of a rounding there. You want to fit that to the freehedge. So if I was doing a natural tip, I would have my tip pushed all the way up to where her nail and the well met. However, in a French manicure like this, if I went way down like that, it makes a very deep white, and I don't like that. I like that longer look. So we're just going to give it an imaginary freehedge, and I'm actually going to put the well all the way out, or the tip all the way out here, even though my well, I can see the line is out here. And that's where with proper structure you can come in and still make this a very strong extension. Okay, so I want to make sure my sides are good. I don't have to alter that in any way. I'm going to use pH bond, make sure that it's dehydrated. This is where, like once again with the clammy nail, you really want to pay attention to this every step of the way. Allow that to dry completely. You'll notice it will start coming back chalky white again. I'm using the Tammy Taylor Dip and Repair glue. You feel the well of it. Move it side to side to make sure that you're already all the way on the sides. What's nice is this is not a Mach 5 glue, so I have time to work with it. I have a habit of tapping off the excess tip. Then very gently rock your tip up. And then right when you have it where you want it, you hold. I always release and then hold again. And what that does is make sure that I'm not holding my tip up too high, and then it sets that way. If you release, it allows you to come on and push her finger up into you and push down on the tip at the same time. And that's going to push out any air bubbles and release everything around there. You guys have to see this. So my daughter's friend is over here.
Look, he's using both hands.
Painting her toenails on the floor while we're doing this. Now, is that a good friend or what?
He's using both hands.
Cooper, mine's next. Oh my gosh.
Up
So
there.
funny.
No.
With glue, you always want to tap it and it gets all the air out, and then you can put your lid back on. I can use this entire thing of glue without it drying out, without it holding my glue and my lid on, by tapping it like that. Okay, I can hear that one's hard, it's set. I can pull my form off, and then that's going to continue to let it set the rest of the way. Usually what I'll do is I'll do all 5, and then when I work on the next hand, I'll go through and then start taking the other hand off. Okay, so once my glue is set, I can come in and size it, cut off all the excess that we throw away more than what we use. Then you're going to want to come in, you're going to want to file this to be just like what we extended with this one. You're going to want to file it thinner than where you want it to truly be. Because if I left the tip like this and I put product on it, it's just going to make it that little bit wider. So we're going to bring it in and give it a less exaggerated look. painting Caitlin's toenails. So you want to make sure that you still have your straight line down the side, which we've talked a lot about tips and when you sculpt, getting that straight line. And just a little bit farther. So these are pre-etched tips. I do not have to go back over the top and etch the top in any way. Wipe off the excess stuff. Okay, so up close. Down the side it's straight, straight. And you can tell it's slightly tapered. So if you want a very tapered nail, you're going to bring that in even farther so that you can build that out wider. But you have to make sure that your line, your side stays straight. The more you taper in a tip, the more you lose the C curve, and then you'll lose the strength in it. So if you're really going for a very tapered or stiletto look, just like in the videos I've done before, you'll want to sculpt them. Okay, so I'm going to come in with my pH bond again. Make sure it's completely dehydrated. You guys don't have to whisper.
He's so. You must know. My pinky toenail is like this.
So funny. I'm going to come in with my protein bond. You only add it to the natural nail. That's going to be my primer. Max Estrada does have a primer, but I'm going to be honest with you, I'm out. And protein bond can be universal with many products. So in this case, now I already have my white, so I'm just going to take a clear pink on Max's. This one's called Glass Pink. I'm going to do this in a 2-ball method. To get my first bead, I'm going to put it right at my stress line. Allow it to self-level out. See how it went down to the sides? I'm going to pat it over to work it to this side. And then using the well of my brush, you pat it back and forth until you cover up the sides and the tip. Brush it down to taper it. As you've seen before, my habit is to take my finger, take off the excess. So if you look from the side view, see where my height is from my apex? But if you look down the barrel, see there's not that much of a thickness there. Let's see if I can, I'm that little bit more than a credit card thickness, but we're going to finish file it, so it's going to make it the thickness that I need. So I'm going to come in with the cuticle, my second bead, lay it down, allow it to self-level out. So see how it went into the cuticle area just perfectly. I'm going to push it down to meet into my sidewalls. And then pat and blend it back over that second bead. So there's your side view. And when I finish file and I finish file all across here, it's going to give me the perfect apex. It's tapered down at the cuticle and it's tapered down towards the free edge. Okay. So there's number 2. I have another form here.
You could wear point shoes, like your feet are like made for that.
Okay, another way of French manicure I'm going to use a natural tip. So once again, so here's where you can really see the wells. So I come up there and there's the darkness right here. So I can see where her nail is, I can see the well, and then I can see the tip. When you're using a natural or clear tip, you want to be able to use the entire well. And when you put it up there, you'll notice that it will meet all the way up and you won't get that dark shadow underneath. And that's going to make sure that the entire well is up past her stress area. So this one's actually the right one, but I need to alter it just a little bit. Because I push it all the way down, I can see that these corners were kind of digging into the side. And product is stronger than glue, so I would rather have product way down in there than a glued on tip way down in there. So I'm bringing the sides of her tip up. So where the well is, tapered up. So that when I apply this, let me get this cleaned up so you can see it really up close. When I apply this tip and I pull down the side, you can see it's going to expose her nail just a sliver there, and product is going to fill in there, so therefore you won't have the side lifting. That looks really good. So I'm going to shape her free edge to match the well.
Mine never load.
Obviously, you would not Mod Podge nails like this if you were doing a client. You would choose one or the other. Okay, so that fits in good. My sides are good. Time to glue it on. So I'm going to pH bond it because I can feel that she's clammy. I can tell I'm slightly getting a gloss on my nail again. pH bond to make sure that it's temporarily dehydrated. Well, not only just at the cuticle, because I want to make sure that that really stays dehydrated, but I want to make sure there's no oil on the tip area that my glue is going to go on, or my glue and my tip will be on. You like that?
Mm-hmm. Reminds me of like fluoride at the dentist. You know?
Work it from side to side. Make sure the nail meets up to the well of the tip. Kind of rock it up. I let go for a second. I push up her and then push back down. That way I know that I'm holding this at her natural way her nail would grow. Wipe off that excess glue that came up. What I like about rocking a nail on too is that if you have excess glue, it's going to come out on top where you can file it. If you put the tip down first and then rock it down, your excess glue will come from the back side. And then you know that they tend to pick at it and all that. Tap your glue down to get the air out of it and put your lid back on. While we're gluing that one, I'm going to show you the way I do it on this one. So I'm going to do one more tip here. Even though this one fits, you can tell how it kind of flares out the tip right here on this side. And it's just going to be a little bit too small. So I'm going to have to go bigger and then bring in the sides, which I think what I'm going to do. Let's see if this, yep. I think I'm gonna, so in this one, it's just this one side that I can see that it flares it out because it's a little bit deeper on that. So I'm gonna alter the tip again. So what I'm gonna do is remove this portion of the tip. Because the rest of it fit fine. It didn't turn her nail bed white. It's just this one side. And a little bit on this one. Okay, shape her free edge to match the well.
I think they're gonna over.
That's a better fit. Okay. Page bond. Like I said, I have a habit of like tapping down the end. Usually I don't see anything come off, but old habits are hard to break. Come in and rock that tip on. I hold it for just a moment, lift up, and then hold it again. I take my finger and wipe off the excess, even though you can file it off. It's just our habits, you know.
Go on to LTE for me. I did. Oh. You looking at the gifts?
Okay.
Mine's working.
Get those down. And you're going to start coming in and shaping those in. So you can tell if I would not have tapered this in and with the product on there, see how much wider that nail would have been if I did not do that. So once again, kind of that, if they want that flared nail, then I would leave it wider like this. But if they want it more tapered, you definitely have to bring those sidewalls in. So when we do all of them, how long do you want them to be? You just want them at your fingertips, like kind of like before, or do you want them? Do you want long ones?
I actually like the length of that one that you're doing
Yeah.
right now.
Yay! And those corners in. Shape that up.
Let me see. Just paint your toenails black and then wear socks.
Is it Cooper's turn to get his toenails done?
I think so. We did his makeup.
That's right. Hey, that's on video that you guys said that you did his makeup. For the whole world to know. Alright, so I'm going to come in pH bond again, just on the natural now. If you put pH bond on the tip, it can make it crack because it over dries it. So you really just want it on the natural now.
I told you.
Come in with your primer. Once again, just on the natural now.
My feet are nasty.
So I showed you the reverse way already. Here's if you do the white first. This is how I learned when I was in school. However, I can say I do the reverse method since I have learned to do that in the late, probably 90s, because I get a more crisp smile line once it's filed. I always love that it looks like a mess and your clients kind of look at it like, oh my gosh, are you leaving it like that? And then when you clean it all up and you get the crispness, they go, wow. So, okay. So in this one you would do the white first, and I judge it by where their natural nail is. So I can see right here where the well and her nail are meeting. So I judge it by that. If I put my white only to there, as it grows out, because I use a clear pink, as it grows out, it's going to start showing her nail, and then she's going to have white, her nail, and then the pink. So you got to judge like how many weeks are they going to go between fills. If they're going to go 2 weeks, then you need to put your white up to about where that 2 or 3 week growth would be. So I'm going to put the center about here, and then I'm going to taper that up, and I'm going to meet the corner of where these tips are. So get your brush ready. grab your white. So I'm putting it right where I want that growth to be, towards the center. Then I'm going to work the acrylic up. I don't want it to self-level at this point because I need it to work with me. I'm going to work it up on the side and pat it over and work it up on the other side. Pat it to get it into shape all the way to cover your tip, even from side to side. Then you can come in. So I'm not adding more monomer to it. What I'm doing is re-wetting my brush, making sure that it can work without it sticking to my white, and then you can form it into place. I need a little bit more on this other side.
You think I'm strapped in for my safety? Let me get that.
Bring it up. Then you have your white. I let it set just a moment so that if I apply my pink, it doesn't move me a white around. So you tend to do all the whites first and then come back in with the pink. Get my pink. Don't put it at the cuticle. Put it about where the apex would be, and then allow it to soft level out. Then you can pat it into place. Make sure that you're pat onto the sides so that you can push that into where the white is so that you don't get a gap in between those. Pat it from side to side and then drag it down. And I put it down just a little bit too far, so I'm going to put a little bit on, place it here so that I can get it closer to that cuticle area. Angle that around and drag it down. Okay. So what you can tell already is, so these two, the white coloring is going to be very similar because it's done in the white acrylic. Over the tip, you're going to get a softer white. So sometimes you'll spend all your time doing a white tip, overlaying it, and then your client wants a more white, and then you have to go over it with gel polish or something again. So really talk to them about what shades of white that they want. My clients like a white, and so once again, on this one, I have a coat of clear underneath. So when they come in for a fill, I can file this all the way down to the clear coat and then rebalance the white each time. This one has a white tip on it, so when they come back for their fill, I can't remove that. I have to continuously cover it up or redo the white similar to like this next time they come in, and you're always chasing that tip color. On this one, I have a tip on. I have the white all the way to the tip, so therefore, again, it's the same scenario as this one. I can't file all the way off. It would end up being another new set. So here's what I do. I build up everything in clear. When you do in a clear in a length like this, you can do a 1-ball method or 2. Unless their nail's longer, you can do 3. And so it also is faster to do it this way. Get your bead, apply it on, kind of drag it down, allow it to self-level into the cuticles. So everybody's laughing in here. I'll show you. My daughter is down there giving Cooper a mini pedicure, which is hilarious. So continue to use the well of your brush to form the acrylic all the way down to your free edge, side to side. Pat it, remove the excess, and then you can tell with one bead you got all of that on. It's a very natural look because it's on a natural tip. So to do the French, I'm going to do that in gel polish. So I'm going to allow these to set just for a moment so that I can start finish filing them. make sure you clean your brush. Get lots of monomer on it. Get all of the acrylic powder out of that. Once again, these are Bounty napkins, so they're very absorbent. When I do monomer or acrylics, I use 2. Get all the excess out. Put a tiny bit of monomer back on it and just wipe both sides. And you'll notice that you're back into your original shape, and then store it down like this. Oh, the joys. Sean, I was talking to you last night on the phone. We were video chatting, and we were talking about kids. And you shared with me that your son's Navy or Marines. And anyways, my daughter's getting ready to go off to college. She's going to be a dental hygienist. She does not want to touch people's feet to do their nails, but yet Cooper's in here. It's totally doing it, so maybe there's still time to be able to talk you into being a manicurist.
I like feet. I just don't like doing feet. I'm not artistic. I can't do nail art like you can.
You don't have to do nail art to be a nail tech. Okay, so with the safety bit, oh, I lost my angle for you guys. Sorry about that. So when I come in with my e-file, I'm gonna, once again, like when you're doing a fill, you're gonna come up one side. You're gonna hold it at, oh, I don't know what kind of an angle this is, but I'm almost even with the nail. I'm not tilted up like this. You're even down with the nail, and then down the other side. So here's where that top bulk is going to be filed off. And then you can shape. I'm tapering down from here to the free edge. I'm tapering that down. So that when you look down the side, you can tell when my arch is starting to come. I'll hand file the rest of that. I'm going to take it down a little bit more here. And then you can tell that white, because it doesn't have the pink up over it, is a nice, solid, crisp white. These ones you don't have to finish file as much because it goes on a lot smoother. So depending which way you choose, know that there's a lot more finish filing with that one, but you can apply the product a lot easier too, and quickly and messy, and it's kind of fun. That kind of tickle, huh? Vibrate. And once again, you can see this white starts to pop. One thing about this is you get a softer line, however. So I want to show you between this one and this one. See how much crisper this line is? Because the white was done first and then the pink brought over it, it softens that white line just a little bit. So once again, just talking with your client to find out for sure what kind of a look they want would help steer you which direction that you want to apply it. And obviously for speed and time like that, this one's going to be your fastest one. Okay, bring those sides back up. being that you're on product, your file now can go back and forth in both directions. You don't have to worry about going with the grain of the nail anymore. Once again, a really good videos to watch for the reverse method is Young Nails. And they're on YouTube and their website. However, their website is geared for nail professionals. Their YouTube will show not every single step, but because it's geared towards DIY and they want to separate a little bit of the professional. So I can tell on this one, I probably should have brought my white in just a little bit further. I have a little tiny bit of a shadowing on that side. Make this even from sidewall to sidewall. Just want to make sure that I'm even from this side to this side. What are you guys doing?
His pinky toes are the size of my boyfriend. Like his toenail is so long.
It's not my fault.
Okay, so here's the straight on view. You can see you have a very crisp line, and then the thickness of the sculpted one. I'm still a little bit thicker than a credit card size, so I'm going to taper that down a little bit more.
So,
You're shiny.
that's just a picture.
Okay, so there's my side view, and now you can see my thickness there. Okay. Do a little bit more OCD ways.
He was texting Colin because he's mad about being God's not dead.
That's good. Okay. On this one, you won't have as much finish filing because all you did was go over the tip that you've already taken your time to shape. It's just getting your arch where you want it and tapering down, making sure you're even from sidewall to sidewall.
Hayden's going to get an actual pedicure with Haley and Vicky. That's not getting his toes painted, but just like clean them up like she's doing.
I've learned on a white tip, if I was to do the one ball method, you put your bulk down. By the time you taper it down, and then it's a white tip, you get a darker pink here, and then it starts getting lighter and lighter. So you get like a Napoleon look. So it's worth it to do one bead over the tip to make that even, and then do your second bead up to the cuticle. Those are those little lessons learned over all of the years. Okay, so here's the side view of that. I'm actually going to taper a little bit more. I'm a little high right here, and I want my height to be there. Oops. It's hard to not hit the camera.
So funny.
There, that's a lot better. So now my high point's right here. If you look down the barrel of it, get the underlying tip part. Now you'll see the thickness of those are about the same. Okay. This one we did the white first.
Don't do that. It's fine. Just leave it.
There's dirt. Yeah, I don't do stuff.
Once again, because we did that tip a little bit, more tapered in on the shaping, you'll notice that even with the product on, she's straight down on the sides. So if you want a coffin shape, you're going to have to go in even a lot farther than that. You shape your tip to just be slightly smaller than where you know that your ending result will be.
It actually looks a lot better too. But it looks way better.
think it's rubbing the bone down every time I do it.
Okay.
I just be able to go like this with my
Your
thumb
side
and
view.
just pop every single time.
And it's a tip, so you always have the under little plastic pieces, which I clean up with my e-file at the end. But I can tell it's still a little bit thicker, so I'm going to thin that one down. It's about the credit card thickness, but I know that I can go a little bit thinner to meet the other ones. There we go. So you can tell whether you're doing a tip with white, a tip with the white tip with the clear on top, or a sculpt. You can still get your thicknesses pretty similar.
What are you doing? Have you seen Roger Mullen's feet? Like that.
Okay, so I'm going to show you. There's your natural over tip. So I can say every time we've done them this way, over tip with the white first, we do tend to get a thicker free edge. And I think it's just because the way you're applying your white, you don't really taper it down like what you do when you're sculpting. But you can tell that you can still get them pretty similar. And then you can tell whether you're doing the form or a tip, your C curve ends up being about the same. So you want to make sure they're not too flat, and then they're not coming in so far that they're overly pinching. But okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you what these look like finished up. So at this point, you can either buff the nail or, let's see, I'm going to use Nail Alchemy. I like a high gloss shine, and so I do a base and then a top, and then I don't have to worry about buffing at all. So this is the Nail Alchemy base. I like to come in with a makeup wedge with alcohol and make sure there's absolutely no powder still on that nail. You don't have to do this step, but you'll notice just immediately how much already a smoother finish you get. Come in with your base, put your bulk down first, fan out your bristles, push up to the cuticle and drag it straight down. There's no need to cap the free edge. You can use a complete clear acrylic, and that would make that white a little bit whiter. I personally, I don't even have a clear acrylic. All of mine are a little bit of a pink tint to them. Okay, we're going to cure those in the light for 30 seconds. So I'm going to do her white. This is a Dandy Snowflake, and if you want that softened polish look, I'll show you what it looks like with the bubble bath on it. My desk is a mess now, huh?
Have you
to show each step and she's doing it.
So this one's the sculpted reverse, so you can see how nice and white that is. I'll put a top coat on them as well. So you can tell that these three are pretty similar. This one's a little bit lighter because of the white tip, but I do this because I've already told you why I'd be chasing the color on those. So the same aspect applies. I want to put my white in to where I know when she's grown out 2 or 3 weeks it won't expose her natural underneath. So I take the bulk and I put it a little ways past where her free edge would be. And then I taper my brush and bring it up the sides. I always go over it more than once. And in this case, you can cap over the free edge if you want, just to turn it all white. I'm not a huge fan of that. I think it makes it look thicker. So, okay. So there's that crisp French. I'm gonna go ahead and have you set that one in the white again. Usually you can get away with just the one coat. Sometimes, so if they want a white, I do 2 coats. But in this case, I'm gonna do 1 coat and then show you what it can look like as a softened French. Are you pulling the hair on his toes?
You could feel them. And then there was one that
She ripped like a whole chunk of my foot off.
She did. Are you trust her with that?
No, not anymore.
Okay. So at this point you can put a clear coat on, and these you'd see how very similar they look. If you want a more softened French, then you can come in with like bubble bath and cover over the entire nail. And it gives you more of that old polished French manicure. Bubble baths are really nice, like it would be a cover pink. So I'll show you what it looks like over the acrylic one as well. So no matter what way you choose to do whites, you can tell you can make them all look very similar. If you like an extreme smile line, doing your reverse French is going to get you a lot more of a curvature. If you're looking for something very quick, a white tip with the pink over the top. If you're looking at the longevity that this is going to be your client, they're going to come back, I would do something like this so that when you remove the color, you're back down to clear, do a regular fill, and then you can change your color each time. With the other method, you're going to be chasing your white each step of the way. So you can tell up close with that little bit of a cover pink how it gives it a softened look, or you can keep it nice and sharp like this one. Alright, so I hope that explained different ways of doing whites. I can tell you my 2 that I go for is either going to be this one or this one for me, and that's because of the type of techniques that I like to do, and it depends what kind of a French manicure look they want. If I'm going to spend my time to sculpt out, clear, do my pink and white, and then I find out they want a lot of artwork, I'm not going to spend my time doing it this way, because when they come back in, I'm going to be chasing that white again, and it almost makes you mad when you get the perfect smile line and then they cover it up. So really talk to them in advance of what type of look they want, because you can save a lot of time on the set and when they come back in for their fill by choosing one versus the other. Alright, well thanks for joining me live. I'll talk to you guys later.